24 hours. That's all it took for a celebration that cost millions to turn into a crime scene that shocked the entire Gulf region. On March 15, 2019, while wedding guests were still posting photos from what they called the most extravagant wedding Dubai had ever seen, the bride lay lifeless in her Palm Jumeirah penthouse. White roses imported from Ecuador still decorated the hotel ballroom. Her Zuhair Murad gown still hung pristine in the closet. But what really happened in those final 24 hours that turned a fairy tale into a nightmare? Stay with me to the very end to find out. Welcome to True Crime Journal HQ. Thanks to all our viewers and subscribers for your support. Stay with us for daily update on the most shocking true crime stories. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Before we start, if you want to learn how to protect yourself from potential danger, then download your free ebook titled Safety for Women Over 40, Everyday Habits to Outsmart Criminals by clicking the link in the pinned comment. Yasmin Khalil was born on a warm summer evening in Beirut, Lebanon, in June 1991. Her father owned a small textile shop in the Hamra district, while her mother worked as a schoolteacher. Money was never abundant, but love filled their modest apartment overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. From age 7, Yasmin would sketch dresses in notebooks, dreaming of one day seeing her designs on runways. She'd watch fashion shows on their old television, memorizing every detail, every fabric choice, every color combination. Her mother often joked that Yasmin could describe an outfit better than she could remember her homework. In 2006, when Yasmin turned 15, her family made a life-changing decision. Her father's brother had established a successful import business in Dubai and offered them an opportunity they couldn't refuse. The Khalil family packed their lives into suitcases and moved to the gleaming city of endless possibilities. Those first months in Dubai were brutal. Yasmin struggled with the cultural differences, the new school system, and feeling like an outsider. Her Lebanese accent made her classmates giggle. Her modest clothing felt out of place among designer labels. But Yasmin possessed something powerful, resilience, that would later define her entire journey. By 2012, at 21, Yasmin had graduated from the American University in Dubai with a degree in marketing. But corporate life never called to her. Instead, she saw potential in something her friends dismissed as a waste of time: Instagram. She created her account with a simple mission: showcase modest fashion that didn't compromise on style. Her first post received 11 likes, all from family members. But Yasmin wasn't discouraged. Every morning before her part-time job at a boutique in City Walk, she'd photograph her outfits, write thoughtful captions in both Arabic and English, and engage with every single comment. Her breakthrough came in 2014 when a popular Emirati fashion blogger shared one of Yasmin's posts. Overnight, she gained 5,000 followers. Brands started noticing. Her unique ability to blend traditional Arab modesty with contemporary fashion trends resonated deeply with young women across the Gulf who felt underrepresented in mainstream fashion media. By 2016, Yasmin had collaborated with brands like Namshi, Riva Fashion, and several boutiques in Dubai Mall. Her content wasn't just about clothes. She shared personal stories, struggles with self-doubt, and advice about building confidence. Women felt like they knew her, trusted her, saw themselves in her journey. When she hit 400,000 followers in early 2018, Yasmin threw a small gathering at her apartment in Jumeirah Lake Towers. She cried as she thanked everyone who'd supported her. Her personality was magnetic, ambitious yet humble, driven yet kind. She remembered followers' names, responded to messages personally, and genuinely cared about the community she'd built. Her sister Amira, who still lived in Beirut, was her closest confidant. They video-called daily, sharing everything from business decisions to boy troubles. Amira often warned Yasmin about moving too fast, trusting too easily. "Your heart is too big, Habibti," she'd say. Yasmin would laugh it off. "That's what makes life beautiful, no?" October 2018. A fashion event at the Four Seasons in DIFC. Yasmin was invited as an influencer guest. That's where Omar Shaheen first approached her near the champagne fountain. He introduced himself as the owner of 3 entertainment venues along Sheikh Zayed Road: Club Mirage, Lotus Lounge, and Azure Sky Bar. Omar was everything Yasmin's previous boyfriends weren't. Confident, successful, 15 years older and impossibly charming. He drove a black Bentley Continental, wore Tom Ford suits, and spoke about business deals worth millions. Within 2 weeks, they were inseparable. He showered her with gifts: Cartier bracelets, weekend trips to the Maldives, front-row seats at fashion shows in Paris. Her Instagram stories became filled with luxury experiences that made her followers envious. The engagement announcement in March 2019 received 89,000 likes in 4 hours, but not everyone celebrated. Yasmin's closest friends noticed things. Omar controlled who she spent time with. He'd check her phone regularly, calling it "making sure my queen is safe." He insisted she remove certain male followers from Instagram. When questioned, he'd deflect with expensive gifts and romantic gestures. Amira expressed concerns during their calls. "Something feels off about him, Yasmin. Why the rush?" But Yasmin was intoxicated by the lifestyle, the attention, the feeling of being chosen by someone so powerful. She'd convinced herself that love meant compromise. Have you ever ignored warning signs because you were blinded by love? Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. If you made it to this point, drop a comment with "I'm still here." Let's see who is still watching. If you're enjoying this content, like, subscribe, and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. March 1st, 2019. 2 weeks before the wedding, Yasmin was at Omar's penthouse while he was supposedly meeting investors. She needed to print out the final guest list from his laptop since hers was being repaired. That's when she saw the folder. Financial Statements 2019 sat prominently on his desktop. Curiosity got the better of her. What she found made her blood run cold. Club Mirage, operating at a loss for 18 months. Lotus Lounge, behind on rent by 6 months, eviction notice pending. Azure Sky Bar, closed temporarily due to renovations, actually seized by creditors. Omar wasn't the successful businessman he pretended to be. He was drowning in debt, AED 12 million deep. Then she found another document, a life insurance policy, her name listed as the insured party. Benefit amount, AED 5 million. Policyholder and sole beneficiary, Omar Shaheen. Date purchased, February 18th, 2019, just 3 weeks ago. Her hands trembled as she photographed the documents with her phone. Why would he take out insurance on her life without telling her? Why now, right before the wedding? That night, she texted Amira, "I found something. I can't talk about it on the phone. I don't know what to do. After the wedding, I'll tell you everything." The next 13 days were torture. Should she confront him? Cancel the wedding? Her parents had already spent money they didn't have. 600 guests had confirmed attendance. Canceling would humiliate both families and destroy her reputation in Dubai's tight-knit social circles. Omar sensed her distance. He became extra attentive, more romantic, showering her with reassurances. "Just wedding nerves, Habibi," he'd say, kissing her forehead. But Yasmin couldn't shake the feeling that she was making the biggest mistake of her life. March 14th, 2019. The Jumeirah Beach Hotel ballroom transformed into something out of Arabian Nights. Crystal chandeliers reflected light off gold-trimmed tables. Those white Ecuadorian roses, 12,000 of them, filled every corner with their delicate fragrance. The cost? Over AED 800,000 for a single night. Yasmin wore her custom Zuhair Murad gown, hand-beaded with Swarovski crystals. It took 6 months to create and cost more than her father earned in 2 years. Her makeup artist later told police that Yasmin cried twice that morning, once when her mother hugged her, and once for no apparent reason at all. The ceremony started at 7 p.m. 600 guests filled the ballroom: business moguls, Instagram celebrities, politicians, and social elites. A famous Lebanese singer performed 3 songs. The 7-tier cake stood taller than most people. Champagne flowed endlessly. Guest testimonies painted a picture of perfection. "The most beautiful wedding I've ever attended," said one influencer, who posted 43 Instagram stories that night. "They looked so happy together," another guest recalled. Omar couldn't take his eyes off her. But video footage tells a different story. Watch closely and you'll see Yasmin's smile never quite reaches her eyes. In one clip, when Omar whispers something in her ear, she flinches slightly before laughing. During their first dance, her body appears stiff, mechanical. The celebration stretched until 4 a.m. Guests danced, ate, celebrated. Yasmin's last Instagram post went live at 3:47 a.m., a photo of her and Omar cutting the cake, caption reading, "Forever starts now." The comments flooded with congratulations, heart emojis, and wedding wishes. At 4:23 a.m., Omar's Bentley pulled away from the hotel, heading toward their Palm Jumeirah penthouse. Security cameras captured them entering the building at 4:51 a.m. Yasmin walked ahead, Omar followed, carrying her train. Less than 20 hours later, she would be dead. What would you do if you discovered something shocking about your partner days before your wedding? Would you go through with it or walk away? Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. If you made it to this point, drop a comment with, "I'm still here." Let's see who is still watching. If you're enjoying this content, like, subscribe, and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. But beneath the champagne toasts and camera flashes, a plan had already been set in motion, one that would turn a celebration into a crime scene before the sun set again. March 15th, 12:34 a.m. The penthouse door closed behind them. What should have been the beginning of their happily ever after became something else entirely. According to Mrs. Fatima Al-Mansouri, the neighbor in Unit 2401, voices started rising around midnight. "At first I thought it was the TV," she told investigators. "But then I heard her say clearly, 'Why didn't you tell me?' She sounded scared, not angry, just scared." The argument lasted approximately 20 minutes. Mr. Khalid Rahman, in Unit 2403, reported hearing Omar's voice getting louder, though he couldn't make out specific words. Then unusual quiet. The kind of silence that feels heavy, oppressive. Security footage from the building's garage tells the next part of the story. At 3:04 a.m., Omar exits the elevator wearing dark athletic clothes, carrying a black gym bag. His Bentley leaves the property at 3:11 a.m., heading toward Sheikh Zayed Road. The cameras captured his license plate perfectly, Dubai D50847. Inside the penthouse, Yasmin was still awake. Phone records show her last activity at 2:47 a.m. Her search history from those final conscious moments reveals everything. Divorce laws UAE, how to leave abusive relationship Dubai, life insurance policy without consent legal, and finally, Emirates Airline last-minute flights Beirut. She was planning to run. At 2:53 a.m., she typed out a message to Amira, but never hit send. "He knows I found out. I'm scared. I'm leaving in the morning. I'll call you from the airport if you don't hear from me by..." The message remained incomplete in her drafts folder. Omar returned at 6:38 a.m. Security footage shows him entering the garage, now carrying a white plastic shopping bag from a 24-hour pharmacy. He looked calm, almost too calm for someone who'd just had a massive fight with his bride on their wedding night. The gym bag he'd left with, nowhere to be seen. Yasmin woke up around 11 a.m. with a splitting headache. She told Omar she felt dizzy, nauseous, like her body wasn't responding correctly. He insisted she'd simply overdone it at the wedding. Too much dancing, too little sleep, all that excitement catching up to her. He made her tea, brought her toast, fluffed her pillows. This version of Omar, attentive, caring, doting, struck Yasmin as strange given their fight just hours earlier, but her head felt too foggy to question it. "Rest, Habibi," he kept saying. "You need to recover. We have our honeymoon in 3 days." By 2 p.m., Yasmin's condition worsened. She couldn't stand without feeling like the room was spinning. Her words came out slurred. Omar suggested she was dehydrated, brought her more water, more tea. She drank obediently, trusting the man she'd just married. At 3:30 p.m., she tried calling Amira. Her fingers fumbled with the phone. She managed to dial but couldn't speak coherently when her sister answered, "Yasmin? Yasmin, what's wrong? You sound strange." Amira's panicked voice filled the speaker, but Yasmin's phone slipped from her hand, clattering onto the marble floor. Omar picked it up, ended the call. "You're too sick to talk now, rest first." He took her phone away. "So you can sleep without distractions," he explained. The penthouse fell into deep silence. No music, no television, no sounds of life. Mrs. Al-Mansouri noticed it. Usually you hear something from next door, footsteps, voices, water running. But that afternoon and evening, nothing, like the apartment was empty. Amira tried calling back 17 times. Every call went straight to voicemail. At 9:03 p.m., Omar's voice shattered the building's quiet. He was screaming into his phone, "She's not breathing! Send help! My wife isn't breathing!" Paramedics arrived at 9:23 p.m. They found Yasmin lying in bed, dressed in silk pajamas, her skin already cold to the touch. Omar was beside her, crying, repeating, "She was fine this morning. She was just tired. What happened?" But Yasmin Khalil hadn't been fine. And what happened during those missing 3 hours between 3 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. would become the key to understanding everything. What the paramedics noticed immediately changed this from a medical emergency to a criminal investigation. Yasmin's pupils were constricted to pinpoints. Her breathing had stopped, but there was no sign of natural cardiac arrest. Something was wrong. Terribly, medically, criminally wrong. Have you ever felt like something was terribly wrong but couldn't prove it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. If you made it to this point, drop a comment with, "I'm still here." Let's see who is still watching. If you're enjoying this content, like, subscribe and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. What happened during those missing 3 hours would become the key to solving everything. The gym bag, the pharmacy run, the sudden illness that took a perfectly healthy 28-year-old woman from dancing at her wedding to dead in less than 24 hours. The paramedics arrived at 9:23 p.m., their equipment clattering through the marble-floored hallway of the Palm Jumeirah Tower. Lead paramedic Hassan al-Zarouni would later testify that the scene felt off from the moment they entered. Omar met them at the door, tears streaming down his face, hands shaking. "Please help her. We just got married yesterday. She was just tired." Yasmin lay in the master bedroom, positioned almost too perfectly in the center of the bed. Her hands were folded across her chest. Her hair was brushed, spread across the pillow. She wore expensive silk pajamas that looked freshly pressed. Al-Zarouni checked for vital signs. Nothing. No pulse, no breath sounds, no pupillary response. Her skin had already begun cooling. He estimated she'd been dead for at least 30 to 45 minutes before Omar called. "Time of death, 9:23 p.m., Al-Zarouni announced, though he suspected she'd actually died closer to 8:45 p.m. Omar collapsed against the bedroom wall, wailing. His grief seemed genuine, the raw, visceral kind that comes from shock. But Al-Zarouni noticed something odd. Omar's eyes, while wet with tears, kept darting toward Yasmin's phone on the nightstand and the bathroom door, which was closed. Dubai police arrived at 9:41 p.m. Detective Samir Musa took the lead, starting with routine questions. How long had she been feeling unwell? What did she eat today? Any known medical conditions? Any medications? Omar's answers came between sobs. She'd been tired from the wedding, feeling dizzy all day. No medical conditions, no medications. Just exhausted from the celebration. "We were supposed to leave for our honeymoon to Bora Bora on Monday," Omar kept repeating. "She was so excited. This doesn't make sense." The initial assessment, acute cardiac arrest, likely stress-induced. Young women sometimes experience sudden cardiac events, though rare. The medical examiner would need to confirm, but Detective Musa had worked homicide for 12 years. Something about this scene bothered him. Everything felt too staged, too clean, too controlled for a genuine medical emergency. He made the call. Preserve the scene. This investigation wasn't over. By midnight, the forensic team had arrived. What they discovered over the next 72 hours would transform this case from a tragic medical event into a calculated murder investigation. Dr. Layla Hamdan, the medical examiner, performed the preliminary examination. Yasmin was 28 years old, 5'6", 125 pounds, in excellent physical condition. No visible signs of trauma, no bruising, no defensive wounds. But Dr. Hamdan noticed the pinpoint pupils, a classic indicator of opioid or sedative overdose. "This wasn't cardiac arrest," she told Detective Musa. "I need full toxicology immediately." Yasmin's medical records arrived the next morning. Just 3 weeks earlier, she'd completed a comprehensive health screening for visa renewal purposes. Perfect cardiovascular health, blood pressure normal, no abnormalities whatsoever. Her doctor described her as one of the healthiest patients I've examined this year. The toxicology report came back on March 18th. Midazolam, a powerful sedative typically used in surgical procedures, found in lethal concentrations. Additionally, traces of zolpidem, a sleep medication. The combination would have rendered Yasmin unconscious within minutes and stopped her breathing within hours. Detective Musa pulled pharmacy records across Dubai. No prescriptions for either medication in Yasmin's name, no legitimate medical reason for these drugs to be in her system. The security footage analysis revealed the damning timeline. Omar leaving at 3:04 a.m. with a gym bag, returning at 6:38 a.m. with a pharmacy bag. The pharmacist at the 24-hour Asta pharmacy on Sheikh Zayed Road remembered a man matching Omar's description purchasing supplies for his sick mother at 5:47 a.m. Bottles of water, tissues, and suspiciously requesting to use the restroom for several minutes. Witness statements from neighbors added crucial details. Mrs. Al-Mansouri heard the argument. Mr. Rahman noticed Omar's car leaving in the middle of the night, unusual for a man supposedly on his wedding night. The building's maintenance supervisor mentioned that Omar had asked about the location of security cameras 2 weeks prior, claiming he wanted to ensure his wife's safety. The timeline didn't just fail to add up, it screamed premeditation. On March 20th, Detective Musa obtained a warrant to search Omar's businesses. At Club Mirage, hidden in a locked office drawer, they found an empty prescription bottle, midazolam, prescribed to Ahmed al-Rashid, a name that didn't exist in any database. The prescription was forged. They also found a burner phone with a single contact saved, insurance agent. Text messages revealed Omar had been asking about policy payout timelines, beneficiary verification processes, and how quickly claims could be processed in case of accidental death. The digital forensics team recovered Yasmin's devices on March 21st, her phone, laptop, and iPad. What they found painted a devastating picture of her final hours. Her search history from 2:47 a.m. told the story of a terrified woman planning her escape. Divorce laws, flights to Beirut, life insurance fraud penalties, each search more desperate than the last. The unsent message to Amira, frozen in her drafts folder, made Detective Musa's blood run cold. "He knows I found out. I'm scared. I'm leaving in the morning. I'll call you from the airport. If you don't hear from me by—" She never finished typing. Text messages between Yasmin and Amira from the previous 2 weeks showed Yasmin's growing concern. "Something feels wrong. He's acting strange. I found documents I wasn't supposed to see." On Yasmin's laptop, investigators found photographs she'd taken of Omar's financial records, screenshots of bank statements showing AED 12 million in debt, eviction notices, creditor lawsuits, and the insurance policy, AED 5 million, taken out without her knowledge, with Omar as the sole beneficiary. She'd even created a folder titled Evidence, with 63 documents proving Omar's financial collapse. Bank records showed Omar had been paying insurance premiums in cash, trying to avoid a paper trail. His businesses were weeks away from complete bankruptcy. He'd borrowed money from people you don't want to owe money to in Dubai, loan sharks who don't accept excuses. The insurance policy had one critical clause: double payout in case of accidental death within the first year of marriage. AED 10 million, enough to pay his debts and start over. But investigators found one more thing that changed everything. A voice memo Yasmin recorded at 2:35 a.m. that night, 12 minutes before her final search history entry. Her voice was shaking barely above a whisper. "Amira, if you ever hear this, Omar found out that I know. He's threatening me. He said if I try to leave, if I tell anyone, he'll make sure I regret it. He said the wedding was an investment and I need to play my part. I don't know what to do. I'm going to try to leave at sunrise. If something happens to me, it wasn't an accident. It was him. It was always him." The recording was 4 minutes and 17 seconds long. It would become the prosecution's most powerful piece of evidence. Where are you watching from? Is insurance fraud common in your area? Let me know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. If you made it to this point, drop a comment with "I'm still here." Let's see who is still watching. If you're enjoying this content, like, subscribe, and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. Prosecutor Fatima Al-Suwaidi spent 8 days building what she called the most clear-cut premeditated murder case she'd handled in 15 years. Every piece of evidence pointed in one direction. Omar Shaheen had murdered his wife for insurance money. March 28, 2019, 6:47 a.m. Dubai police arrested Omar at his mother's house in Arabian Ranches. He'd been staying there since investigators sealed his penthouse as a crime scene. Detective Musa read him his rights while Omar stood in his pajamas, looking smaller and older than he had at his wedding 2 weeks earlier. His defense was simple, consistent, and ultimately unconvincing. "We had an argument about wedding expenses. I needed space, so I drove around to clear my head. When I came back, she was sleeping. I let her rest all day because she seemed exhausted. By evening, I checked on her and she wasn't breathing. I called for help immediately. I loved my wife. I would never hurt her." But the evidence told a different story entirely. The financial motive was airtight. Omar owed AED 12 million to various creditors and loan sharks. His businesses were collapsing. He faced bankruptcy and potentially criminal charges for fraud. The AED 5 million insurance policy, AED 10 million if Yasmin died accidentally within the first year, would solve all his problems. Investigators tracked down the source of the midazolam. A corrupt clinic employee in Sharjah admitted to selling sedatives to Omar for AED 15,000 cash on February 27th. The transaction happened in a parking lot. No paperwork, no questions asked. The employee identified Omar from a photo lineup without hesitation. Pharmacy CCTV footage from the night Yasmin died showed something chilling. At 5:43 a.m., a man entered the Astor pharmacy wearing a surgical mask, sunglasses, and a baseball cap, odd for someone just buying tissues and water. But when he turned his head toward the pain relief aisle, the camera caught his profile. Facial recognition software confirmed it. Omar Shaheen, 94.7% match. The pharmacy's waste bin collected before the regular morning pickup contained the gym bag Omar had left with. Inside, Yasmin's phone, smashed beyond repair, and an empty syringe. On April 3rd, the prosecutor's office formally charged Omar Shaheen with first-degree premeditated murder, insurance fraud, and forgery. Bail was denied. He would await trial in Al Awir Central Jail. The trial began on September 15, 2019, at the Dubai Criminal Court. Media outlets from across the Gulf region descended on the courthouse. This wasn't just another murder trial. It was a story about trust betrayed, greed disguised as love, and a young woman whose bright future was stolen 24 hours after saying "I do." Omar walked into the courtroom wearing a white kandura, looking nothing like the confident businessman who'd celebrated his wedding 6 months earlier. His face was gaunt, his hands trembled, and when Yasmin's family entered, he couldn't meet their eyes. The prosecution presented 47 pieces of evidence over 3 weeks: financial records, security footage, toxicology reports, witness testimonies. Each one tightened the noose around Omar's defense. Mrs. Al-Mansouri described the argument she'd heard. The pharmacist identified Omar as the masked man. The forensic analyst explained how the midazolam dosage in Yasmin's system was consistent with intentional administration, not accidental ingestion. Then came the moment that shattered whatever remained of Omar's composure. Prosecutor Al-Suwaidi played Yasmin's voice memo. The courtroom fell into absolute silence as Yasmin's terrified voice filled the space. "Amira, if you ever hear this, Omar found out that I know. He's threatening me. If something happens to me, it wasn't an accident. It was him. It was always him." Amira collapsed in her seat, her mother catching her before she hit the floor. Yasmin's father buried his face in his hands. Even the judge paused, visibly affected by the recording. Omar's lawyer tried arguing that the memo proved nothing, just a scared woman misinterpreting an argument, but the jury saw through it. On October 8, 2019, after deliberating for 6 hours, the verdict came: guilty of premeditated murder in the first degree. The judge sentenced Omar Shaheen to life imprisonment, 25 years minimum before eligibility for parole. Additionally, he was ordered to pay AED 2 million in blood money to Yasmin's family, though he had no assets left to seize. As guards led Omar away, Amira stood and screamed words that echoed through the courtroom. "You killed my sister for money you didn't even have. You destroyed our family." In that courtroom, as Yasmin's sister collapsed in tears, everyone understood that behind Dubai's glittering lifestyle, even fairy tales can have the darkest endings. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. If you made it to this point, drop a comment with, "I'm still here." Let's see who is still watching. If you're enjoying this content, like, subscribe, and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. Yasmin Khalil's story didn't end with Omar's conviction. It sparked conversations across Dubai and the entire Gulf region about something people rarely discuss openly: how financial desperation can transform someone into a monster, and how love can blind us to danger, standing right in front of us. The warning signs were there: Omar's controlling behavior, his insistence on managing her finances, the way he isolated her from friends who questioned him, his obsession with her social media presence and the wealth it projected. These weren't just personality quirks, they were red flags written in neon. Yasmin's Instagram account remains active, managed now by Amira, as a memorial and education platform. The bio reads, "In loving memory of Yasmin Khalil. May her story save others from similar fates." It has grown to over 850,000 followers, women who share their own stories of escaping dangerous relationships, recognizing manipulation, and choosing safety over social expectations. The Dubai Community Police launched a campaign in 2020 called See the Signs, focusing on relationship abuse and financial coercion. Yasmin's case became the catalyst for conversations that were long overdue in communities where family honor and social reputation often silence victims. But questions remain. Did Omar plan this from the moment he met Yasmin, or did desperation turn him into a killer somewhere along the way? Could she have escaped if she'd acted on that 2:47 a.m. decision to flee? What if she'd confided in someone besides her sister? The cost of ignoring red flags is measured not just in Yasmin's lost life, but in her family's permanent grief, in the future she'll never have, in the children she'll never raise, and in the dreams that died with her in that Palm Jumeirah penthouse. Her story serves as a haunting reminder. Luxury doesn't guarantee safety. Charm doesn't equal character. And sometimes the person sleeping beside you is the one you should fear most. What could Yasmin have done differently? Should she have trusted her instincts and cancelled the wedding despite the social pressure? Do you think Omar planned this from the beginning, or did his financial collapse push him toward murder? What would you do if you were in her sister's position, knowing something felt wrong but being too far away to help? This case raises difficult questions about trust, desperation, and the masks people wear. Let me know your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more true crime stories that expose the darkness hiding behind closed doors.